In this practical, we'll be going through basic layouting, as well as applying classes and IDs into your HTML. You might have come across this in previous years, and hopefully this consolidates your understanding a bit more. Okay, so as a recap, we are predominantly concerned about two different files. One of them is called index.html, the other one is called index.css. .html is all the content, so what to be displayed. So this image, that image, this div or this box or that box, and what's inside the paragraph, what's inside the heading. Okay, so on the other hand, .css cares about the styles. So how big do you display the heading? How small do you display the paragraph? What color do you display this box? What color do you display that box? Okay, and importantly, what we go through today is idea of layouting, also wireframing, is what's inside of what. Okay, so in the template here, you can see that in the box here, I have two other boxes within. Okay, so even though they're really rectangular, they are still boxes. They're still rectangular boxes. Okay, so inside the green box, I've got two other boxes nested within. Okay, so in the HTML structure, okay, I've got a div that opens here, closes here, with two other divs nested within. Okay, it's nested not because it's indented. Indented just make it easily to read, but it's more the fact that before I close this div, I open up a new one and close that one. Open up a new one and close that one. Okay, so for example, if I have this one here, okay, I open the div, I give it a content, and then I close it by doing a /div. This outside box has never been closed until this point here, which means these two are nested within. So as a demonstration, okay, I'm now going to grab these two and I'm going to put it behind here. Now in that case, I'm just going to make it indent nicely, just as a good habit. Now the change has now made it so this div here, okay, closes before the other two starts. So if I now press run, the two divs are now outside of the green box. Okay, whereas the what we had before, like this, they're inside the green box because I opened them, or I at least initiated them before the parent div has been closed. Okay, so these two inside boxes has been nested within the outside box. Okay, so that's number one. So I'll run this again to show you that it's now back in there. Okay, so if I now put another div here, okay, let's just now call this whatever. Now, given the position here, do you think it's going to be inside or outside? Okay, you guess correct. If I press run, we'll have an answer. Okay, whatever, or at least a div that contains whatever, is outside. And the reason for that is because the div for outside box has already closed before I opened up. But on the other hand, if I put them in here, okay, whatever is now going to be inside the green box. Now, more importantly, if I grab this, and now I actually put it behind yes, it's not only just going to be inside, it's inside of inside. Okay, so that div now is nested within another, the blue div. Okay, so that's a basic layouting that you'll be able to do. At least understand it, and we're gonna have a chance to actually deep dive into it once I get back next week. Okay, for the time being, I'm gonna leave that div here. So that's number one. And number two that we're going to go through are the ideal classes and IDs. In the previous example, you probably find an annoyance that if I say, if I have in my index here, if I say div color yellow. If I do that, every single div will be affected. Okay, it will affect every single div, and there's nothing I can change. So what if, see how all the fonts here are yellow? Now what if I want whatever to be of a different color than no and yes, but I have to use a div? That makes that will make it really difficult. So what we can do is we're going away from the default tags, which is the H1, H2 divs and paragraphs. We can actually invent a whole new group that all display with the same style. Okay, and these are ideas called classes and IDs. For example, the two of them, the yes and no here, okay, they go by the class inside box. So that means that div there will display all the properties that's of the class inside box. Okay, same with that one there. So besides those two, and I just go to the style here to have a look. Okay, so inside box, background blue, margin 10. Okay, margin just means all the surrounds. There's 10 pixels around it, so it's not so crowded. Okay, so now if I want to, you see how if it's standard tag like div, I don't need anything in front. I just need div, or I just need something like h1. Yeah, but if it's a class, which is a customized thing that I made, I need a dot in front. Okay, dot means class. So now in the HTML element, I go class equals to quotation mark inside box. Okay, so which means if I now want whatever to also have the style that I have designated, I go class equals to inside box. Now, another thing to note is it's case sensitive. So lowercase inside uppercase box. So if I now run this, whatever is now going to pick up the same style as those two because they are of the same class. Okay. Right, so have a look at the one that's on the outside, okay, has the class outside box. So an outside box, outside box will pick up all these styles here. Now this means that if I now put another div here and I call that outside box, then a second outside box is going to show underneath. Like that, okay? Now, it doesn't actually matter what I call these things. So, for example, if I call that random 1, as long as this one here is also called random 1, it's not going to affect it at all. It's still going to do exactly the same as what I wanted to do because class names are just names. As long as one word, okay. So it's not like there's a space in between. Oh, gee, you came out with world errors here. As long as one continuous word, that's not going to give us too much grief. Okay, so that's the idea of classes. Now there's another thing also called IDs. Okay, so I can now make an ID and I can say call this my ID and let's put something arbitrary. Now I can do the same thing here. And ID, you have a hashtag in front. Okay, so my ID, and how do I identify this? I just say background color. Okay. Now if I do this now, my ID is going to pick up. Oh, come on, go away. It's showing up here. So the main difference between classes and IDs, well, not a lot. Both of them are really customized groups that you can apply to only a few, but not all of them. Traditionally, an ID is only applied to one element, not multiple elements. So when I come out with the ID with this tag here, I only apply that to one single element. I don't intend to have multiple inside boxes or multiple outside boxes. That's the main difference. Okay, so if I revert back to all my original stuff, or the original tutorial that you have like this, and get rid of my ID and get rid of this. All right, what I want you to do is now turn this into this. So for starters, you need 2 more elements in here. And you also need to note that each of these elements have the same size and the same styles. So you need to, first of all, add a couple elements to the right places with the right content. Now, secondly, you need to go back to into your .css file and then change a couple of things so that it's actually filling up most of the page here. Okay. Once you have done that, which probably shouldn't take you very long, I want you to adjust the existing style and also apply a style called line height. Okay. If you're not sure, this is literally what I'll ask you to do. Copy W3 Schools line height. Okay, so W3 School is a wonderful website that actually have a little widget for you to test what happens, and that actually, so you can actually see what's going on. Okay, so have a look at how to apply that, how to use that, and I want you to change what you have up here into something like this. Okay, another thing that you would also need to look into is to see how the corners are slightly rounded. You'll need to use a property called border radius. Okay, there you go. So border radius property. So I will let you explore how to do that, because it's always much better when you find out how to do it yourself rather than me telling you how to do it. Okay, so that should last you until the end of week 3, before I come back. And once I come back, we're going to go through some more layouting. And from there, we actually get to build a functional website quiz. Okay, great.